Well, why don't we begin? Why don't we get started? So much to engage in tonight.
All right, well, we'll start with some music. Matovu, how goodly are your tents, O Jacob? A recognition of this beautiful virtual space that we're sharing tonight. And you can find it on page 4 in your Siddur. Matovu, Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Matovu, Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Va'ani berov chastecha, avo veitecha, eshtachave leichal kodshecha, ve'yiratecha.
Thank you.
Matovu, Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Matovu, Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. And if you'll take a moment with me to turn now to page 5, we have Tzadik Katamar, a beautiful song recognizing the righteousness that people who are righteous shall flourish, just like the date tree in Lebanon. So please join me. Tzadik Katamar yifrach ke'erez balvanon yizgah shetulim beveit Adonai b'chatrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yenuvun b'seiva teshenim v'ra'nanim yiyu lehagid ki yashar Adonai zuri v'lo alatabo.
Thank you, Cantor. Thank you again, Chazan. And Cantor Alyssa with her ordination a couple of weeks ago. It's still so exciting. And Mazel Tov again to Cantor. Shabbat Shalom, dear friends. Shabbat Shalom. So good to be together tonight. Tonight we come together to experience the joy and the wholeness, the life abundant that is Shabbat. May we enjoy this time to take in and experience all that's good, all that's holy in the world around us and within us. During this sacred time and in the holiness of our homes, may we let go of the fears and the frustrations of this past week as best we can, as we just give ourselves this time to slow down, this time to reflect, this time to enter the peace and the joy of Shabbat. This Shabbat is very special for at least three reasons. First, this Shabbat is special because we celebrate Moss Gordon becoming a bar mitzvah. Mazel tov, there they are. Mazel tov, guys. Mazel tov to you all. Mazel tov to Moss and his family who are joining us tonight. It's so great to be with you. And so we're going to see Moss and the family and make Shabbat really special tonight. Now, second, this Shabbat is also very special because tonight we're going to focus on mental health and wellness in recognition of last month being Mental Health Awareness Month. Now, May has been Mental Health Awareness Month in America since the 1940s, I've come to learn. And we want to thank our Social Action Chair and Caring Community Co-Chair, Carol Cornell, for suggesting, there's Carol, our thanks to Carol for suggesting we devote a Shabbat service to this important subject. Now, as much we would have liked to, we weren't able to devote a Shabbat service to this in May because there was so much going on each and every Shabbat in May. So we wanted to reflect upon it tonight, given the tremendous challenges the world's been facing with mental health and wellness since the COVID pandemic. So thanks again to Carol for bringing this idea to our temple community. And we're going to see Carol, there she is. We're going to see Carol now, and a little bit later, she's going to lead us in a beautiful poem, prayer that she found for tonight. And third, the Shabbat is so special because all of you have joined us tonight. Thank you so much for celebrating Shabbat with your temple community tonight. Well, Shabbat has always been a time of wholeness and a weekly renewal and rejuvenation for our mental and for our physical health. Shabbat has always been that. As a matter of fact, our tradition says that on Shabbat, we all receive a neshama yetera, an additional level of soul and spirit, an additional level of soul and spirit. And that extra soul and spirit comes to us through joy. It comes to us through song and prayer and rest on Shabbat and the loving embrace of family, friends, and community. So let's celebrate all those blessings of Shabbat with the singing of Shalom Aleichem on page 6, everybody.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Halachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Halachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruchuni Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Halachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Zeichem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Halachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
let's turn now to page 9 as we bring in the light and the warmth and the joy of Shabbat. And to help us do so, we are so honored to call upon the Gordon Poe family. There they are. Hi, Rob. Hi, Leslie.
Hi, Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom.
shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Is that an aunt and a grandparent of Moss's behind you?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, who's with you? Hey, Moss. There's a bar mitzvah. Moss, who's behind you?
My grandfather and my aunt. So you right.
What's her name?
My aunt Jenny and my grandfather Mike.
Hi, Grandpa Mike and Aunt Jenny. Welcome. Great to be with you. Great to be with you all. Mazel tov, Moss. What do you think? You guys ready? Did you want to do a reading before you light the candles, and then Cantor will lead us in the bracha, the blessing?
Dad chose to reading.
Shall I go?
Yeah.
In the beginning, there was darkness, and the Spirit of God hovered above the darkness. Then God created light, and the work of creation was begun. As we kindle the Sabbath lights, we remember the majesty of creation and rejoice in our ability to witness it again.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Thank you, Cantor, and thank you, Rob and Leslie and Moss and Grandpa Mike and Aunt Jenny. Thank you all so much. We're going to call upon Moss a little bit later, but looking at their beautiful family, it reminds us that we have a family blessing that we brings us joy each and every Shabbat. So we invite you to gather with your family if they're close by, like the Gordon Poe family. And if they're not close by, to embrace your family near and far in your hearts as we now join in this family blessing on the bottom of page 9.
May God bless you and keep you. May He shine His face upon you and grace you. May He lift His presence unto you and grant you peace. May God bless you and keep you. May she shine her face upon you and grace you. May she lift her presence unto you and grant you peace. And grant you peace.
Oh, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Did more people join? You, Moss? Who else is there? Who you got there?
Back over here.
Oh my goodness, hi. More ants?
Yeah, my we got Auntie Holly.
We got Aunt Huss, talk louder.
And
And we got
And Grandma Marla.
Grandma
Yeah,
Marla and
Grandma
Aunt
Grandma
Holly.
Marla.
Hilo's here too.
Hilo, let's see Hilo. Boy, how long has it been since I've seen Hilo? Hey, Hilo, there he is. Hey, buddy. Hi. Hilo, how old are you now?
5.
5. Oh my goodness. What a big guy. I remember when you were like 8 days old.
That's funny.
Wow, what a beautiful family. Thank you for being with us
Thank
tonight.
you.
So Moss, we're going to be calling you a little bit later to lead us in prayer. Right now, we are so very honored to call upon our social action chair and our caring community co-chair, Carol Cornell. This service tonight, this idea is her brainchild. And Carol, in preparation for this service, you found a beautiful reading.
I did.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about it, or
I will.
anything before we start, before you lead us in the prayer?
Everyone who needs recovering from the pandemic and dealing with all of our feelings and fears and everything we've gone through for the last year and a half. Everyone's going at different paces. Everyone's afraid of different things, confident about different things. If you're in a group of 5, there's about 8 different opinions about what we should be doing and shouldn't be doing, and who we should be masking. And time to take a deep breath, time to breathe, time to meditate, time to really just enjoy each other, enjoy the people you love, support the people you love, and be there for each other. Embrace that you can touch someone again. And don't worry if you're not comfortable doing what your neighbor's doing, or your brother's doing, or your spouse is doing, or your kids are doing. You need to go at your own pace, and your own pace may be slow, and that's fine. And this beautiful poem gives you permission to go at whatever pace you want.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think Jason's going to share it on the screen and maybe put it in the chat box as well, so people can have it later. But Carol would be, thank you. That was beautiful. Yasher Gochek, we'd be honored to have you read this lovely poem.
The poem is called Shabbat, As Long as You Need. And I think Shabbat, the way this author sees it, she's a woman, and her name, we believe she's a woman, Charlie Jaffe. And I think to me, it places Shabbat in your heart where Shabbat is for me. It's called Shabbat, As Long as You Need. If you fear that going slow makes you lazy, or that the world will reemerge before you're ready, if you don't want to embrace a past life's fast pace, remember, worthiness is not a place you can run to, not a stock that drops with your activity. You are not a productivity machine, but a living, breathing, beautiful being. We don't speed up the snake as its skin is still shedding, or tell the bear to hustle while it's hibernating. No one blames the caterpillar for the way it cocoons, and you, mighty human, deserve to take your time too. Whether you've gone inward to grow new wings or been beaten up by winter, you're a big win just surviving. You are always worthy, don't need to prove a thing. Rest can be a mighty resistance. You're already holy simply for existing.
What a beautiful, beautiful sentiment. And thank you, Carol.
Thank
you for offering that, bringing that to us. And again, Jason's going to put that in the chat box during our service tonight, so you can have that at home and reflect on that. There it is. And we really appreciate it, Carol. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. And Cantor has prepared a beautiful song for us tonight, and prayer in honor of this special service tonight.
Yes, absolutely. I wanted to take a moment for this special service to reintroduce. I'm sure some of you are familiar with the prayer Ahavat Olam, which is an evening time prayer, and it's a prayer of eternal love, which I think is so poignant for the theme of tonight's service. So I wanted to bring it back, and this is a melody I don't think many of you may know, but it's really beautiful. It's one of my favorites. And it's even better as a duet. I will say, hopefully someday I got the opportunity to do that with someone else, but for now I'll share with you Ahavat Olam, and we'll put the words on the screen for you. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, רוחבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם כי חיים חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה ואהבתך תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל.
Thank you, Cantor. Thank you. And yeah, that was so lovely. That was so lovely. And some of you may recognize that prayer, Ahavat Olam, eternal love, comes right before the Shema in each and every Jewish prayer service. So it's amazing if you think about it, this section of the Shema where we come to the affirmation of our faith, it really is a series of blessings that are meant to help us achieve mental, emotional, and spiritual wholeness and well-being. Because as Cantor is saying, right before the Shema, we talk about God's eternal love for us. And then we sing the Shema and we affirm that God and God's creation is one. And then right after it, we do the V'ahavta, where we talk about our love for God. So we reciprocate God's love for us in Ahavat Olam with the V'ahavta, our love for God. Now, the Shema is a part of that, mystically and numerically, because the word for love in Judaism, Ahava, has a numerical value. If you count up the letters, each letter in Judaism, as you know, has a numerical value. Aleph is 1, Beit is 2, all the way up to 400. The numerical value of Ahava, love, is 13. When we sing the Shema, the last word of the Shema, where we recognize and affirm God's unity, and we say the word Echad, and we stress the word Echad at the end, we emphasize that. The numerical value of the word Echad is 13 as well. So love equals God's unity, the unity of the world, and the Shema equals 13. By the way, this is why 13 is a lucky number in Judaism. It's not an unlucky number, it's a lucky number. It means love, it means unity, it means the Shema come to life. And so with all of that in mind, to think about that on this very special Shabbat where we focus on mental, emotional, spiritual wholeness and well-being, let's join together in love, the love that surrounds the Shema, the love that is embedded in the meaning of the affirmation of our faith, the Shema, on page 14.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Well, we now turn to page 15, and we are so honored and delighted to have our bar mitzvah, Moss Gordon, lead us in this prayer of love, the V'ahavta. Hey, Moss, whenever you are ready, sir.
Okay. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברתם בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידך, והיו תותפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
All right, Yasher Koa, Kola Kavod. Way to go, Moss. That was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, sir. That was great. Moss has been leading us in V'ahavta since the first grade. So thank you, Moss. That was fantastic. Thanks for being with us tonight, and to your family. We can't wait to celebrate with you tomorrow. We know you have a lot of excitement in store for you in the next 24 hours. So we want to thank you again so much for being with us tonight. We want you to get a good night's sleep tonight. So if y'all need to go and do some stuff and just get ready for tomorrow morning, we'll say goodbye. And we'll also, let's put in the chat box, let's wish Moss a mazel tov. And we'll put that in the chat box for him. And please feel free anytime you guys need to go. And if that means now, we totally understand. We wish you a mazel tov and a Shabbat shalom. And thank you again for being here tonight. We can't wait till tomorrow morning, Moss.
Yay, Shabbat shalom.
Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
That's all.
Welcome. You are welcome, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Well, let's turn to page 17. Let's turn to page 17. This is a beautiful prayer from the High Holy Day prayer book, from Mishkan HaNefesh. And this prayer, we included early on when we created the Shabbat at Home Temple Sinai Connected service, because we knew this prayer was so poignant during the time of COVID and during a pandemic. It talks about taking care of ourselves physically. And as we do this together, or as we do this in just a moment, I want us to think about how the physical, how our bodies are related to our minds, and how they're related to our hearts, and how they're related to our souls. I've had the great fortune of studying mind-body medicine since rabbinical school. I just have always been interested in health and nutrition and in psychology since certainly before my rabbinical school days. So I had the good fortune of studying, you may have heard the name Herb Benson. Dr. Herb Benson wrote a book called The Relaxation Response. He wrote a book called Timeless Healing. He has a mind-body clinic at Harvard, and I had the great pleasure of being at his mind-body clinic for an entire week in 1999 to study with him and all of his colleagues. And so when we talk about taking care of our bodies, we're talking about taking care of our minds. We're talking about taking care of our minds. We're talking about taking care of our bodies. It's a two-way street, the mind-body connection. And I think this prayer on page 17 also articulates that beautifully from Mishkan HaNefesh. Dear God, you've taught us in the book of Deuteronomy, guard yourselves well, take good care of your lives. Your word calls to us, do no harm to yourself. Do not weaken or exhaust yourself. In gratitude for the gift of our bodies, we pray for renewed health and replenished strength. May caring for our bodies and our minds, may caring for our bodies, mind, and hearts become our daily practice. May we be attentive to our need for proper food, sleep, and exercise. Let no injury come to others through our acts or our failure to act. But let our mitzvah be this: to build a just and loving society in which care is a birthright and the blessing of health, physical and mental, the blessing of health is the responsibility of all. Baruch atah Adonai, rofei chol basar umafli la'asot. We praise you, Holy One, for wondrous acts of creation and healing.
And we have a prayer that many of you are familiar with. The song I wrote, Shelter, Ufros Aleinu, which we like to say at night as part of our Hashkivenu prayer before bedtime, as just a prayer of protection and peace for all of us. So we'll put the words on the screen for you and feel free to sing along. We need your strength tonight, as we do every night. Shelter us. Please grant us peace of mind, all worries far behind. Shelter us. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us with your peace. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us with your peace. Please guard this night of rest. Let it be one that's blessed. Shelter us. Let us lie down in peace. Let pain and violence cease. Shelter us. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us with your peace. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us with your peace. Amidst uncertainty, we need security. Please shelter us.
Thank you, Cantor. Well, tonight we wanted to share a few more mental health and wellness teachings and resources in Judaism. As you can see, many of them are in our weekly Shabbat service and in our weekly celebration of Shabbat. Jason, why don't we, if you want to go ahead and put in the chat box, the handout that we're going to be sharing on the screen. Give you just a taste of a little bit more resources that are so helpful for health and wellness, for our mind and body. One you know very well. We do it every week during our Shabbat service, but we sometimes focus on a different aspect of it. Tonight, we're going to focus on one of the main aspects of this prayer that we say each and every week here at Temple Sinai that really does talk about mental health and wellness. It's the Mishaberach prayer. So Jason, why don't we put that up on the screen and we can take a look at it, and you'll see how this really does relate. We focus on the bodily aspects of this prayer, but right in there, right at the beginning, is the mental aspects, the soulful aspects of health and well-being. So traditionally, whether you open up a traditional prayer book, an Orthodox prayer book, a conservative prayer book, a Reform, Reconstructionist, Renewal, whatever it is, you're going to find a prayer for healing, the Mishaberach, traditional Mishaberach prayer. And a section of that prayer, really the heart of that prayer, says, V'yishlach la or lo, bimhera, refuah shlema, refuat hanefesh, urfuat haguf. And that is saying, may God send swiftly, speedily to him or to her, whoever we're thinking about, a complete renewal, a complete healing, a healing of body and a healing of spirit. Now, Jason, let's go up to the top to the Hebrew, because the English is actually out of sequence. It begins when we say a complete healing. It first says a rifuat hanefesh, a healing of nefesh. Nefesh is the Hebrew word for soul. It's the Hebrew word for spirit. It's the Hebrew word for mind. It's the Hebrew word for mind, or the mental part of our being. So the Mishaberach prayer that we do each and every week begins, and it talks about, when it talks about a complete healing, it's talking about a healing of mind. Begins with that in the Hebrew. And then it talks about a healing, urfuat haguf, a healing of the body. So a healing of mind and healing of the body, a complete healing. And Judaism recognizes that for us to be complete as human beings, we need to have a healthy mind. And we need to have a healthy body to be complete. Now, on one level, we can still be whole if we have a disability, if we have a physical illness, if we have a mental illness, we can still be whole. We can still be complete. But this is a prayer for both aspects to our being, if we're talking about mind and body, both aspects to our being. Let's take a look at the statistics, because this is important for us to talk about. We don't talk about it enough. 1 in 5 US adults experience mental illness. 1 in 5, 20%. I think the figure is close to 50 million Americans, adults, experience mental illness of some kind, whether that's anxiety, depression, or a more severe form of mental illness. 17%, almost 1 in 5, 17% of youth ages 6 to 17 years experience a mental health disorder. And this number, I'm afraid, is maybe getting higher during COVID, with the isolation that we've all experienced, that kids have experienced, that adults have experienced. I'm afraid these numbers may be a little bit higher over these past 14 or 15 months. 1 in 20 US adults experience serious mental illness, whether that's schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or a severe form of depression. That number's too high. Depression is a leading cause of disability worldwide. According to the World Health Organization, I think it's the #1 cause of disability worldwide. Depression is, and a major contributor to the overall global burden of disease. And depression is a common mental disorder. Globally, more than 264 million people of all ages suffer from depression. So it is common. One could say the potential for it is built into the brain. A number of psychologists would say that in addition to being genetic, it may just be the way that brains are wired to focus on difficulty, to focus on the negative, a whole host of reasons. But these numbers, as we can see, this is very common. And that's why it's important to talk about it and try to ameliorate the stigma and the shame surrounding mental health challenges, and recognize that we are meant to be here for one another and meant to fulfill the Misha Berach prayer, where everybody can experience a healing and renewal of mind and heart as well as body. Now we're going to do the Misha Berach in a little bit, and we can see the Debbie Friedman version on the top of the right column, the furthermost right column, uses those words too. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body and the renewal of spirit. And again, I think it's just helpful to know that the traditional Hebrew, spirit, mind comes first, and then the body. We need to think about both when we do the Misha Berach prayer. Renewal of mind, renewal of body, renewal of emotions, renewal of our whole being. Now, number two, this is interesting, and I would like people to talk. I'd like you to respond in the chat box to a question. And by the way, this was brought to my attention through the organization that we're going to talk about called the Blue Dove Foundation, a wonderful Jewish organization. This was in some of their materials for Mental Health Awareness Shabbat. It's this famous quote by Hillel that we've looked at before, that we've talked about. It's in Pirkei Avot, that famous quote from Hillel, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? But I wonder tonight if we can think about it in a new way. If we can think about it in the context of mental health and wellness, how can we understand this? If I'm not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm only for myself, what am I? And if now, when? How does this relate to a person who may be having mental health challenges? How does it relate to those people, family members, friends, who may be caring for them or are there to be a support and a help and a loving, compassionate presence to them? How can we understand Hillel's famous quote in that context? And I want you to think about it for a second, and then I encourage you to put in the chat box some of the ideas that you may have about that. Any thoughts? If I'm not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm only for myself, what am I? If not now, when? Well, let me give you an idea, and maybe we can jump off from here. Self-care. Yes, thank you, Heather. Thank you. Exactly where I was going, Heather. Need to care for self and the need to care for others. Yes, self-care, taking care of ourselves, as Carol was saying earlier, giving ourselves space, permission to slow down, to rest, to take care of ourselves. That's what Shabbat is about for ourselves and for others. And that's also something that assists us in mental health and wellness. For times that we feel challenged or that people we know and love feel challenged, to take care of ourselves, to have love and compassion, kindness for ourselves, love, compassion, kindness for somebody who may be struggling. Let's continue. Susan says, it reminds me of Kennedy's speech. Ask not what our country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. The loving support of family and friends is so valuable to anybody who has mental health challenges, to reach out to somebody, to be with them, to be a friend to them, to be a loving presence, a loving, compassionate presence to them is so important for everyone's mental health. We're there for each other. Community, as Carol says, the community has the ability. And one of the things, if you think about what is it about Shabbat in the synagogue that is so special, The fact that we can be there for each other, to celebrate each other's joys, and to be there for each other in times of challenge and difficulty and anguish or distress. That is the power of community, like nothing else. So yes, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm only for myself, what am I? Community. If not now, when? Now is the time. Now is the time to be there for somebody. Oh, Heather, put the mask on first, then on another, right? That famous teaching from being on an airplane. In order to be there for others, to be at your best, and to be there to help others, you need to take care of yourself first. You need to put your mask on first, put your oxygen mask on first, before you can assist somebody else in their time of need. Yes, absolutely. The need for self-care and the need of caring for others. Yes, community as a feeling and as a doing. Mitzvot that we do for each other. Gimilut chasadim, the world stands on deeds of loving kindness. Let's think of all the deeds of loving kindness we can do for someone who is struggling, for someone who's in anguish. So much that we can do. Bob is saying, if not now, when? How does this fit into this? Is this attempting to create a sense of urgency? Well, I think, now is the time, right, to do deeds of loving kindness. It's not something that we should be putting off. It should be a daily practice. It should be something, there's a famous teaching in Judaism that if you're about to say the Shema, right, one of the most important prayers, and somebody needs you, you go off saying that prayer and you go help that person. You interrupt your prayers in order to be of service to somebody else. So I think that sense of urgency, that sense of a mitzvah of Gemilut Chasadim really is built in to our tradition, and putting people first, caring for others. That does have a sense of urgency to it. It does have a sense of now, if you can do it now. Now, sometimes we can't do it immediately, but if we can, to be there exactly at that moment. I'll never forget reading in Chicken Soup for the Soul. There's a story about a young guy at school, and he was clearing out his locker at school, and he dropped all his books. Can't you know this one? He dropped all of his books, and somebody else who didn't know him well went to pick up the books, help him pick up the books, and then said, hey, why don't we go grab some lunch? They really didn't know each other. And then years later, the person who cleared out his locker said to his friend, do you know that day we became friends and you helped me out? Do you know why I was clearing out my locker? I was going home to take my life, and I didn't want to leave my books. I didn't want to leave things undone. And so I cleared out my locker, and you saved me from what I was about to do. That's the sense of urgency, that at any moment we have the power, through our kindness and through our love and compassion, to really transform someone's life, really transform it. That is the power of, if not now, when we're able to do it, when we are able to do it. You can't pour from an empty cup. Cantor, yes. Yeah, sometimes when the well is running dry, you gotta replenish the well. And for people who are in the caring professions, you all know that you need compassion fatigue. You do need to care for yourself so you have something to give. Carolyn Mormuso, speaking for myself, I know that I often hesitate to reach out until I can do it right. I'm afraid of making a mistake or not doing enough, and then I am doing nothing. Carolyn, I can relate to what you're saying. I think a number of us who have that perfection gene, we can relate. We want to wait till we can do it right. And sometimes that can work. Sometimes we can then go a little bit later and be able to be more of a support. We have more to give. And so sometimes that is effective. And other times it's really just being there. It's really just showing up. It's really just being a listening ear, having, again, the Shema come to life. Hear, O Israel, right? To listen deeply to others, to be a presence to others. One of the greatest signs of love that we can share with anybody is just to be there. right? Didn't Peter Sellers make a movie being there? It's a big thing. Yes, yes. Well, let's take a look at some helpful resources. Let's take a look at some helpful resources. So Jason, if we could put that back up on the screen. Here, again, in the Jewish community, Jewish Family Service of Los Angeles, they have mental health services, wonderful mental health services is one of their major things that they do. And so you can see there, and with the PDF, you can click on that. We also have a Jewish Family Service at our local federation, the local federation of the Greater San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys. They have a counseling and referral network similar to Jewish Family Service LA. And by the way, we have access to both Jewish Family Service at both federations. We are a member of the Federation Greater San Gabriel Pomona Valleys, but we are also living in the Los Angeles area. We have access to Jewish Family Service LA. And I encourage you, if you need, or if someone that you love or care about is in need of assistance, to contact either of those organizations. The Blue Dove Foundation. The Blue Dove Foundation is an organization, by the way, that's why there's a blue dove on the top of the page. The Blue Dove Foundation was created to help address the issues of mental health and substance abuse in the Jewish community. And if you go on their website, you will find fantastic resources related to mental health and wellness and how to address substance abuse. So please check out the Blue Dove. And of course, contact your healthcare provider if you or someone in your family is in need of mental health services. So those are just some of the resources that are available to us. And as Cantor is saying in the chat box, we certainly have folks in the Jewish tradition, King David, King Saul, a number of folks. We know that our ancestors were not immune from mental anguish and sadness and grief and loss. It's the human condition, and we have examples of that in our tradition. So, so we are there for each other, and we again encourage you to use these resources. And we wish everybody and everyone that you know mental health and wellness at all times. Well, let's take a moment now for our very own personal silent prayer and contemplation, another way that we can build those inner resources, those mental, emotional, spiritual resources through prayer, through meditation. So now we spend a few moments in our very own personal silent prayer and contemplation.
Hopefully by now you've had the opportunity to complete your silent meditation, and if not, feel free to continue to do so. We're going to continue now with the prayer Shalom Rav, a prayer for abundant peace. And this is a version of the song that I've shared with you before by two friends of mine. And it has actually 3 parts, so it's meant to be sung in canon. So if you latch onto a part that you really like and you want to just keep singing that part, even if I'm singing something different, I would love to encourage you to do that. And please, please do sing along with Shalom Rav. Shalom Rabbi Yisrael Amcha Ta'asim Le'olam. Shalom Rabbi Yisrael Amcha Ta'asim Le'olam. Grant us peace all over the earth. Grant us peace all over the earth. Bless us in every season. Bless us in every moment. Bless us in every season. Bless us in every moment. Shalom Rabbi Yisrael Amcha Ta'asim Le'olam. Shalom Rabbi Yisrael Amcha Ta'asim Le'olam. Grant us peace all over the earth. Grant us peace all over the earth. Bless us in every season. Bless us in every moment. Bless us in every season. Bless us in every moment. Shalom Rabbi Yisrael Amcha Ta'asim Le'olam. Shalom Rabbi Yisrael Amcha Ta'asim Le'olam.
Thank you, Cancer. Thank you. Shalom Rav, abundant peace. Again, that word shalom, it means peace. It also means wholeness, shlemut, wholeness, well-being. It's built into the word shalom, the most precious blessing in Judaism. Well-being and wholeness is built into that word. It means exactly that. Well, let's turn now to the Misha Berach prayer of healing, hopefully with a renewed understanding of what we can be praying for people that we know and care about. We're on page 22, everybody, page 22. Please join us.
Misheberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing. And let us say, Amen.
And especially tonight, we pray, may the one who blessed our ancestors bless with strength and healing all who struggle with emotional distress and mental suffering. May all who struggle not be alone on this path, but accompanied by family in all of its forms, friends, caregivers, ancestors, and the divine presence. May God surround them with loving kindness and grace and companionship, and spread over them a Sukkot Shalom, a shelter of peace and wholeness. As our Misha Berach prayer is for all those who are in need of a healing of mind and body and spirit. And we invite you now to put in the chat box someone that you know who is in need of healing, who is in need of renewal. And as we put their names in the chat box, our Misha Berach prayer is for them. And it's also for all these temple members who are in need of healing, all of these family members who are in need of healing, and all these friends and coworkers who are in need of God's healing presence and our love and support as we now continue our prayer of healing together.
מי שבירך אמותינו מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit. And let us say, Amen.
And we pray they are all healed. Well, as you know, Jewish worship is never complete until we think of those people who have come before us, who we have loved, who have passed away, and their love continues to bless us in a love that is stronger than death. Our thoughts now turn to those who have departed this earth, our family members who have died, our friends who have passed away, members of our community, members of every race and nation who are a blessing to humanity. We think of them now, we honor them through our memory and through our prayer. As I mentioned the name of a loved one who has passed, I invite you to please stand, and in just a moment, we'll all stand together to recite the Kaddish prayer. The Shabbat, our Kaddish prayer, is for Sandy Gainan. Our Kaddish prayer is for Charlotte Hellman and Diana Barnwell and Sylvia Miller, Karen Ness, Fred Michaels, Linda Luna, Dr. C. Harold Cohn, Barbara Abraham, Ernestine Erkin, Earl Sanders, Larry Moskowitz, Rebecca Kaufman, Howard Schwartz, and Richard Abraham. And our Kaddish tonight is for those who are observing Yartzeit, the anniversary of the death of a loved one that is commemorated this week. We remember Bob Newell. We remember Ann Berman and Isaac Foreman and Catherine Ross Cordes. We remember Jim Huey. We remember Heinz Lowenstamm and Charles Hirsch, Tim Cutler, Dawson Oppenheimer. We remember Harry Pogorelski, Marilyn Gordon, James Carlson, Charles Seiden, Samuel Zimmerman, Sandra Sunick, Joseph Stoller, Bella Molho, Thomas Bellenkoff, Evelyn Bergson, and all those we've lost to COVID-19 this past year. And we invite you to put the name in the chat box of a loved one who you're thinking of tonight who has passed away. Our Kaddish prayer is for them as well. As together we stand as a community of loving family and friends, as we turn to page 24, we thank God they were with us. With the Kaddish prayer as together we pray. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'alma divarach hiruteh, v'amlich malchuteh. V'chayechon u'vyomechon, u'v'chayei duchol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'bizman kari, v'imru Amen. Yehesh shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'le'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalalo, shmei d'kudisha berichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru Amen. Yehesh lama Rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved. Together we say, Amen. And please be seated, everybody.
And of course, we'd like to take this opportunity to pray for peace once again. Oseh Shalom. Please join me. Oseh Shalom, Shalom Bimrama, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom, Shalom Bimrama, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru Amen. Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Amen. Oseh Shalom, Shalom Bimrama, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru Amen. Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Amen.
Well, at this time, we are honored to call upon Temple Board Officer and our Temple Treasurer, Mr. Bob Bente.
Here I am. Thank you for that great introduction, Rabbi. It's pretty hard to follow that. So I'd like to thank the Gordon Poe family for the beautiful candle lighting, and Moss Gordon for leading us in the Vahatav prayer. Gets any better, he's going to be on his way to the rabbinate, Rabbi, and you're going to have to, you never know. Tonight's virtual Oneg is sponsored by the Friends of the Gordon Poe family in honor of Moss's bar mitzvah, and by Heather and Arthur Ross for the art site of Heather's father, Harry Pogoreski. Sorry, Heather. Coming up at Temple Sinai this week, we've got the Minyan and Torah study meeting tomorrow at the special time of 9 a.m. Moss Gordon's bar mitzvah ceremony tomorrow at 11 a.m. Everybody's invited. Emotional resiliency, Monday at 7 p.m. And a week from tonight, please join us right here for Temple Sinai's annual Sisterhood Shabbat service. You'll find Zoom links and details about all of this and more in Sunday's TSG email blast. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Bob. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. And we're thinking alike. Don't tell Moss yet, but we're going to reach out to him after his bar mitzvah, and we're going to invite him to lead some stuff during High Holy Days.
All right.
Yeah. He's awesome. And thank you also for mentioning the resilience class that Carol Cornell teaches every couple of weeks. Again, that's an opportunity here at Temple Sinai to come together with Carol and loving Temple members to share and to talk about things that are challenges and how to develop tools for resiliency. So thank Carol again. Thank you for doing that. Thanks to all the great work of Caring Community. And we also want to recognize your co-chair of Caring Community, Jan Sway, who was not able to be with us tonight because she's got family. She's celebrating Shabbat with tonight, and they had other plans. And that's a great way to celebrate Shabbat and take care of one's mental health and wellness. So thank you again. And let's see, so we're going to have our virtual Oneg in just a moment. Before we do so, we've got Kiddush and closing song.
Yes, if everyone will take a moment, grab your Kiddush cup. Please join me with a short Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei peri hagafen l'chaim.
Chaim.
Well, for our closing song today, I wanted to take the opportunity, one last opportunity, for a prayer for healing. So some of you may know this. It's by Todd Herzog. It's what we in the biz call a zipper song. So I'm going to say something and you can just repeat it right back. So there'll be a spot for you to fill that in. Sing along at home, please. It's mostly in English, and then the refrain is El na refana la refana lanu, which you may remember we talked about a couple weeks ago, came up in the Torah as one of the first opportunities ever for communal prayer that was prayed over Miriam. So it's not just about praying for healing for everybody else, but praying for healing for all of us, for ourselves, which I think is something we've learned this Shabbat. So please join me, prayer for healing. Dear God of our ancestors, help us renew our faith. Grant us a perfect healing. Bring peace to all our days. And restore our strength of body. Help clarify our minds. Refresh our tired spirits. Rejuvenate our light. Thank you for all these blessings throughout our days and nights. We celebrate the journey, this precious gift of life. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
If anyone
Shabbat
wants
Shalom.
to
Shabbat
see
Shalom.
something that's been
Shabbat
good for my
Shalom.
mental health lately, it's my new roommate.
Ah,
His name is
pretty
Benny.
kitty.
Buggy.
Benny.
Benny.
Yeah,
Where are
my
the
roommate
Jets?
adopted a cat, so we've got a very little kitten hanging out in the apartment.
Oh, sweet. Really sweet.